Hello everyone. This is Chats About Improv with SomerSand. And today we have our wonderful guest, Kyra Thaysen.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. Kyra, we've done already a nice chat about televised improv together, but now the topic is a little bit different. It's about working together in an international environment doing dramatic improv.
Dramatic improv or narrative improv is, I think, something more and more people are getting into everywhere. It's a longer way of storytelling, and improvisation is often known as just the theatre sports, and theatre comedy. But I think more and more people are venturing into real storytelling, and that means longer plays. There's a few that are very well known for it. There's people that are practicing it everywhere. So there's a lot of people asking for it, and that's nice. It's really nice to be able to do that with them. You know, understand what are the itsy-bitsy parts of the storytelling, and there's so many different ways to tell stories. So you need a lot of knowledge, or you are introduced to a lot of knowledge from theatre, from film, obviously narratives, whether it's rags to riches or the hero's journey or whatever it is, you know, that's all part of it.
Also, the fact that people can now sit at home and switch the computers on from everywhere in the world, you know, and they're all together there. And they are already playing. Isn't that?
Well, that's correct. That's what the pandemic really brought us as a gift, is this connection worldwide. Before that, we were very much in our own cities, very often in our own countries, and only at the festivals did we start to mix. And we had suddenly the opportunity through the pandemic as improvisers everywhere to come together, to realize the beauty of improv internationally. And that was something I think will never go away again. That is something that we practice, and I think it will be there forever. I mean, I teach in India, in Manila. I've been in China, in America, different parts of America, all over America, Mexico, Denmark, Sweden, France. I mean, it doesn't matter where you go. You've got people there wanting to improvise with other people, not just the people that they know on a daily basis. And of course, English is often their second language, which makes it even more interesting. But it also shows like the beautiful cultures, they all start mixing. There's a lot of difference in the cultures when they play together.
That is an interesting point, because, for example, if you have scenes between a person that has different traditions in the country with another person that comes from completely different traditions, backgrounds, and they talk about perhaps celebrating something that for one is very sacred, but for the other one is just like, no, I don't really care. It's so interesting, this contrast, isn't it?
I really like it. I appreciate it, but it was a challenge at the beginning, especially also when both as when you're playing with them, also versus teaching them. I think, for example, take the Manila people or anybody that's from East Asia. They don't like conflict. It's not a natural place to go to. So they will do everything to avoid it, which is really, although they have loads of drama there, they do not like conflict. So you have to just understand that and take it for what it is. I don't want to go over there and push conflict onto them and teach them how to do conflict. No, I'm very respectful of that. So there's enough to concentrate on. It teaches me a lot as well. Right, we're very often in the West, we're sort of used to having all the different ups and downs of life, and we portray drama, and especially in Europe, we have so much drama here, all the classic theatre and storytelling of all the heartbreaks and the terrible people and suffering, and we have all of this history, so we use it to express ourselves, and every country has that history. But there's some people that, through their upbringing, I guess, and their cultures, they don't, and that's okay. I don't want to push that onto them. Every country has their thing, which is lovely, though. It's celebrating, isn't it, the differences? And I think that's the most important part.
I think it's also very interesting if you play together with different cultures, that you're really aware of what's going on, recognize that and respect that as well. I think it must be difficult as a teacher with mixed groups to put everything in the right order.
I think you're very right. I think it's experience. After a while, you get the hang of it. I have a IRL group here, in person, real life, and it's very mixed expats from all over the world, because Munich is centered around big companies. So you'll have automatically a lot of people from Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, Mongolia, China, Japan, everywhere. But they really French, a lot of French, Italians. And suddenly all these people with all these different backgrounds mix. And they don't just have the language that's different, they have their cultures and beliefs and religions. Everything is different. And sometimes you think this is a melting pot of potential disaster. Yeah, and you have to be very aware of it, and you have to be able to handle it. So it's important to set out and make that safety space, talk about the values before you even start a class. You've got a cause for the safety. So what are the values? We don't diss things, we up punch things, we don't down punch things, no matter where you come from. I personally, as a teacher, don't like to censor things. I allow them to talk about politics, religion, anything they want. But as long as they up punch it, which means they're celebrating it and they're not dissing it. Yeah. That's my rule. And if I catch somebody dissing it, I will stop the scene straight away, or I'll say to them, that's not the politics we're practicing here. So they learn as a group very quickly to respect each other, to accept each other's differences and to celebrate them. And if there was racism, after a while you'll see it, it'll disappear. And that's magical. I have people from classic India and Pakistan, when they first meet, they're like, after a month, they're like, so it's really nice. But you do have to do a lot of the work as a teacher yourself or as the facilitator. It's up to you to cause for that safe space, and that's online as well as offline.
So does that mean that in improv, it's very important for the improviser to feel always comfortable?
Of course it's important. Absolutely. Anywhere we go is important to feel good, especially if you're asked to do something creative and be very vulnerable. We are asked not just to jump into characters, but we're asked with improv, theatre, sports as well, to fail all the time, to learn to fail. And you have to be comfortable with that. And if the space you feel judged, if you feel people are watching you and going to laugh at you and you feel ridiculed, you're not going to do anything. You're going to block completely, you'll never come back. So I think improv is a very safe space generally, and every facilitator I've ever met in improv that practices improv and that has experience will always cause for a safe space before starting. Yeah, we all like to be uncomfortable sometimes as improvisers. I think the fun is when you're really uncomfortable in a scene, when everything fails, when everything doesn't work, and when you feel like this was the worst scene ever. That's when I realized improv is fun again, because I was just allowed to play and experiment. And I think you just don't take yourself so seriously. I think that's another really important part of improv. No matter what you do, I'm learning every single day more and more and more and more. It never stops, especially the failure part. Be okay with something going incredibly wrong, being boring, being bad, it didn't inspire you, whatever it is. It was in the moment, and you just played.
As long as you have fun when doing it, that's the most...
Yeah, exactly. In the moment, you're just in the moment, you have fun, and I think it's not all just about fun, shits and giggles. Sometimes it can be a very deep and emotional, beautiful, and it can touch you. You know, there's just different moments, and you can't push them. You never know what's going to come. Never know what's going to come. So often I go for the narrative, dramatic, more serious. I'm not the sort of person that goes for the humor. It will come naturally, but I don't go for it. But very often I'm working with people. As soon as I work with other people, they always bring the humor and the crazy into it. The crazy. They love the crazy. They always like the aliens. It's another concept. I won't say so much about it. I like more the human connection. But it's interesting that when you're playing with it, you're uncomfortable, but you just let it slide. You're like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Right? Let's do it. Let's find out what there is.
Yeah, as you say, Kyra, you try to be more serious. You don't really go for the comedy, but also being very serious about something could become funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the discovery part.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's personal too, and I'm going to be very vulnerable here. I think a lot of the time, if I really look at myself, I think that I am a very positive person in my everyday life. And I work, especially as a therapist, I work with all the emotions and I work with all of these deep things. But it's usually from others. And I have to find a way of filtering. So that helps me a lot with a lot of these things, especially with improv. Yet do I really dare myself to go deep? and to touch uncomfortable things. I can't just ask in my therapy other people to do it all the time and help them get there, but myself be oblivious to it. So I think a lot of the time, subconsciously, maybe now it's become conscious, I do it. But I prefer to go, I'm going to go there. It's uncomfortable. I'm hoping that people will see it. I want to go there and maybe I just start to cry or be scared of a moment, not know what happens, allow the silences, the pauses. And I think a lot of people can play with it. And then there's some that just don't want to, and I have to respect both.
Yeah.
But that way I get a chance to live those emotions out also and go through them. So it's therapy for myself. It can be therapeutic. It's not. It can be. It shouldn't be therapy, but it can be.
No, you're absolutely right. Improv helps you define status of other people, listening, watching them, and in real life, if you start seeing someone that is behaving a little bit nervous, then you can detect it immediately because of the experience of watching in improv, and it helps in real life.
Yeah. And I think there's something about overplaying, and I know a lot of actors talk to me about this. I've got a group in America, they train a lot, and they say their critique often is that they overplay things. I've had that critique before about myself. I say that about myself in certain projects. When do we overplay things, characters? And I think it's because we're guarded either. It's a choice, and the question is it? Is it a choice to overplay something? It's because we're not allowing to be really vulnerable. We're not allowed to go deep with it, or we don't have the time to. The space, because if you're suddenly working with 5 people, you have to share the scene with 5 people or the story, but then you don't have so much time, so you don't want to hog the space. And to be vulnerable, to be honest, often you need time and space. Nobody's vulnerable from one second to the next, whether you're doing improvisation or whether you're doing normal therapy or whether you're meeting best friends and a beer. If you're just on the passing in a street saying hi, you're not going to take 2 minutes to be the most vulnerable and tell them what's going on in your life and start letting everything out. You're just not. You're going to be like, see you later, we'll have a call, we'll have a chat. And you find time for it. And I think that's very normal in life. Yeah, it becomes mirrors.
Yeah. We're talking about international improvisation and all this. I think it's very important to say to our audience that in this case, Johan is in Belgium, I am in London, in UK, and Kyra is in
Munich, Monaco, yes, Monaco. Isn't it wonderful? And this is the beauty of it. Exactly, even we. And I think that the beauty of it as well, being able to be all over, not just the pandemic, but even now, 3 times a day in a different country via Zoom, working with different cultures, that is a present.
Yes.
I wouldn't have had that experience before. I would have to plan the travel, and I'd have to get tickets. It would be very expensive. I would be flying out. Now I can do it 3 times a day. And it doesn't cost me much at all, apart from my Zoom account and my lighting perhaps, and a microphone, a good one. But isn't it wonderful? And I think that will always stay, that connection, that possibility.
Exactly. And now you can travel to another country and say, oh, I already know people in that country.
And you visit them. You become really brilliant friends after a while. You visit them. I visited so many people. I have people that are coming and visiting me from Asia, from America. They come here to Munich. I go out to them. It is special. And it saved a lot of us in the pandemic. I think the improvisers in the whole world were the only ones that loved it for those reasons. And we coped very well because we all came together and were very social, whereas other people really had nothing with other hobbies, right? Yeah. With other line of work. They didn't have anything. They were just completely secluded, and we got together.
Yeah. At least something nice came out of the 2 years of pandemic.
Yes. 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 Thank you very much for inviting me and having me.
We hope to see you again sometime in the near future.
We will. We'll be playing a lot together in the near future, and looking forward to it.
Okay, Kyra and everyone, this was episode 13 of Chats About Improv with SomerSand and our guest, Kyra Thaysen. Yeah!